Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between, welcome to another episode of the Jake Botel Sports Experience. On today's episode, we will continue our series of previews as we head for the 2022 Senior All-Ireland Hurling Championship. And today we're going to be finishing off our Joe McDonagh Cup teams looking at Offaly. If you haven't seen the other videos yet, go and check them out. There's a link just up there that'll take you to the playlist of all the videos I've released on these topics so far. So go check that out. While you're there, chuck me a quick subscribe, sends good vibes your way and helps me to build the channel, which I really appreciate. All right, Offaly. So known as the Faithful County, their current manager is Michael Fennelly. Their current captain is Ben Keneally. Their most recent All-Ireland Senior Intercounty Hurling title, not that long ago in the context of the history of hurling, it came in 1998 when they defeated Kilkenny 2-16 to 1-13 on that day. So not only have they won that one in 1998, they also actually hold 4 All-Ireland hurling titles, which they won between 1981 and 1998, but it's been a leaner trot for Offaly since the turn of the century. They returned to the Joe McDonagh Cup this season after having been relegated back in 2019. They put a massive Christie Ring Cup performance together last season to get back up to the Joe McDonagh Cup. They piled on 140 points in 3 Christie Ring Cup games last season, so scoring was not an issue for the Faithful County. So what can we expect from Offaly in the 2022 Joe McDonagh Cup? Well, let's have a look at some form. And the most recent sample of form we have to look at the Faithful County's hurlers is in the 2022 National Hurling League campaign, which has only just recently concluded. So Offaly were in a tough division up in Division 1. They had Galway to contend with, Cork, Clare, Wexford, and Limerick. They ended up going winless in the league campaign. They lost to Galway by 17. They lost to Cork, who were one of the eventual finalists in the league, by 19. They lost to Clare by 16 points. A closer game against Wexford, which they lost by 7 points. Got blown out a little bit by Limerick in the final pool game by 24 points. That meant they had to face off against Antrim in a relegation battle, Antrim being the other lowest placed Division 1 hurling side in the league. They lost that game to Antrim 2-17 to 2-24, losing by 7 points and being relegated down to Division 2 league hurling for next season. I watched about half of Offaly's league hurling games this season. I saw them against Galway. I believe I saw them against Cork as well. And I saw the relegation playoff game against Antrim. And look, although results didn't go their way, ultimately went 0-6. They scored 5 goals, 94, conceded a massive amount of scores, 19-142 for a minus 90 point differential. You could never accuse Offaly of not continuing to try, to not continuing to give effort. They were always fighting. They were always competing hard. And there were some highlights, from an individual player perspective as well. If we look at some of the individual scoring feats, Owen Cahill, 3 goals, 36 for a total of 45 points was, really exceptional in a losing cause. You have Luke O'Connor, 2 goals, 18 for a total of 24. Jason Sampson, no goals, but 7 points. Liam Langton, 5 points. So those 4 players combining for 5 goals, 66. A total of 81 points, which is a fair chunk of Offaly's scoring for the campaign. So they'll be disappointed having been relegated, but there were some bright lights there. And, the challenge now of a Joe McDonagh Cup campaign and trying to survive in the Joe McDonagh Cup. My expectations are this. This is a county with a proud hurling tradition. They've actually been to the summit of the mountain 4 times in their relatively recent history. In the last 30 or so years, they've been to the mountaintop. They actually know as a county what it takes to be there, even though the times in between then and now have been lean. I think they're going to be desperate to maintain their status in Joe McDonagh Cup. They, like any other team, wants to get back to Tier 1 hurling. I think their defence is going to need to tighten up after a pretty leaky league campaign, and it is always hard to know what personnel teams are playing with. They can be a bit experimental sometimes, but you've got to think no matter who they had out there, Offaly would have been pretty disappointed with how the defence held up against those top level hurling attacks. This season is about survival at all costs. They need to maintain their position in Joe McDonagh Cup. They don't want to slide back to the Christie Ring Cup at the first time of asking. So I think that's my expectation. Attempt at all costs to survive and continue to build a foothold towards being able to return up to Tier 1 hurling where the faithful county would like to be. So what's next for you on the JBSC? Well, next up, we're going to be shifting our attentions over to the Munster Hurling Championship, and we're going to be looking at Clare. We'll do team details, National League form, some season expectations, and more. If you've liked this video, why not go and check out some of the others? I've done team previews now on all the Joe McDonagh Cup teams, so you can go and check those out on my YouTube channel. While you're there, I'd appreciate if you chucked a subscribe my way. It sends good vibes to you and helps me build this channel, which I'd really appreciate. Until next time, guys, thanks so much for watching.